the society, the culture, the religion is kind of a sweater we wear when the cold weather is there, right? I think we need, because it's a fabric to protect us. It's for the well-being of the human being. But it was at that time, in that context, when we have a better view, when we have a better system to look at things, we should be willing to change and we should be willing to move on.
Oh no, there's nothing wrong in that. So as a Muslim, I have no problem accepting science, which deals with the naturalistic world, which explains to us how things happen. But you see, science has limits as well. You believe in consciousness?
You know what, if I say I believe in that, I need to lie because I have tried to understand it, I have not understood
Okay,
it.
what is your definition of consciousness?
I have read enough, buddy, I cannot answer that question because I know enough where, see, I'm a kind of person, if I don't understand something absolutely well, I'm not willing to accept that I know it.
Okay, so there's a philosopher with the name of Descartes, and he says, I think, therefore I am.
You're right.
Okay, so if you're able to think, and you can think about your environment, yes, you can observe your environment and interact with it, that means you're conscious of your environment.
Fair enough.
In a nutshell, that's what it is.
Correct.
Okay? Do you experience that?
Of course.
Good, so you're conscious.
Yes, of course.
Okay? You're not like a rock which is non-sentient.
I don't have a problem with being conscious because the consciousness is used in a very broad by many. You see,
no, but in a nutshell, everyone will agree with this definition.
Okay, this conscious. Okay.
So it's basically you being aware of your environment. That's in simple terms. That's what consciousness is. So even a scientist who believes only in experimentation and observation through and by empirical evidence, even they will not deny their consciousness. Because first and foremost, in order to observe and to experiment, you have to be conscious. You can't just say, I'm not aware of any of these things, but then I'm going to do experiments and observe things. So the first principle that they have to acknowledge is that they are conscious. Now if I ask the same scientist or yourself, do you have any evidence, any empirical evidence, using your own principle, do you have any empirical that you are conscious? Because right now you told me your subjective understanding of what consciousness is. You feel it, you experience it. But if you wanted to prove objectively to another individual that you are conscious with empirical evidence, then you will fail to do so. Okay. You have to believe by faith, even as an atheist, even as a scientist who doesn't believe in God. You have no option but to believe that you have consciousness, which in fact is metaphysical. That's why you can't observe it empirically.
See, I will take you this point.
Yeah, go on.
We need to believe because we cannot go by facts, everything. Right?
Absolutely.
You are right.
Yeah, you hit the nail on the head.
Belief is a fundamental for survival. Forget the for survival. We need to think the water is good. We need to think my mother is my mother.
Absolutely.
Right? There are a lot of
or your father, or your doctor.
Everybody, right? Belief is good, but I choose when I need to take, but I don't need to believe everything.
No, you don't have to.
Right?
You don't have to.
I will believe
that which doesn't have contradiction. Okay, it's easier to believe. But that which does have contradiction, then it becomes difficult. Okay. Now, the reason we were talking about metaphysical and physical earlier is to show you that as a person who believes in only seeing and observing things and in experimentation and all these things, I think you're not someone who says that is the only way you can believe, because there's something called testimonies. Like the way your mom or your dad told you that they're your mom or dad without you having any other evidence, just based on their statement. That is called testimony because you trust them. Similarly, when you go visit a doctor, so NHS here, we have the National Health Service. Trust me, no one in the right mind will go to a doctor and before they start treating them or give them any prescription, they're saying, please show me your certificate. Why? Because you trust the National Health Service, that they will only employ qualified people. Obviously, there are exceptions, but that doesn't make the rule. So what I'm saying is that we as human beings, and you pointed out correctly, we cannot survive. Just if you're going to ask for evidence for every single thing in your life, then it becomes life becomes very difficult
When
and
we
hard.
need to see that is true.
Yeah.
We believe in things which is essential for our survival and well-being. Something is promotes our well-being. We believe in that, but we don't need to extend that to everything, right? So when there is a need for me to question something, right? When something doesn't make sense, right? Why should I believe it? I'll question it. Right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So,
that's the reason I said something which is doesn't have internal contradictions.
Like this, right? If I believe, for me, yellow color is very good or white color is very good, but he believes wearing black is good. But if my belief comes, anybody wearing black color is a bad person and I need to harm them, then there is a problem for me to examine my view, my belief on black color.
Absolutely, yeah. Because it doesn't make sense. It's incoherent.
Sense.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. Okay, so using that principle of making sense and not making sense, okay, there are many people who say, if they don't have an answer, they say, I don't know. But then that is also problematic. You know why? Because there are certain things which you cannot deny. For example, your existence, the existence of this earth, the existence of this universe, you cannot deny. Okay? You also cannot deny that these things have a cause, that they came into existence from somewhere or something.
Okay.
They didn't come into existence by themselves, nor did they create themselves.
When you're talking about the universe and the world?
Everything.
Yeah.
Everything that you know as an atheist in your naturalistic world. Yes? So everything that you see around you had a cause, including the galaxies and the universe which you talked about.
There is a lot of, certain things work. We need to hang on to something, right? I think when we did not have the scientific system, the observation system, everything, we need the society, the culture, the religion is kind of a sweater we wear when the cold weather is there, right? I think we need, because it's a fabric to protect us. It's for the well-being of the human being. But it was at that time, in that context, when we have a better view, when we have a better system to look at things, we should be willing to change and we should be willing to move on.
Oh no, there's nothing wrong in that. So as a Muslim, I have no problem accepting science, which deals with the naturalistic world, which explains to us how things happen. But you see, science has limits as well.
Of course.
Okay?
And it accepts that it has limits. That
of course,
is the beauty of it.
I never said it doesn't accept that. However, when science stops at a certain point, it cannot operate beyond that point. Okay? So without time and space, science cannot operate, because it needs that for its calculations, for its experimentations, for its observations. You need this. Without that, you cannot. So anyone trying to use science as a tool to find out about things which are metaphysical, which are beyond the scope of science, I think that is being not true to what science is capable of.
I will leave this with this one parting thought.
Yeah, go on.
See, the physicist, let's take the physicist or a mathematician, right? You take the laws of certain standard laws of mathematics or physics.
Yeah.
You go to people, the mathematician in any country, in any religion, in any culture, they won't dispute that because they have all agreed on that same and they know it's that.
What are you talking about? Agreed on what?
Like for example, if you take Earth is round, right?
Yeah.
From a commonsensical point of view.
No, with observation.
With
of
observation,
course.
right?
But that's what I'm telling you.
But
So naturalistic world
is the world where I have a problem with.
Yeah,
why it's not a universal science?
Sorry, what is not a universal science? Observation?
The religion is not as universal as a science.
No, before we go to religion, I want to understand from your worldview. For example, if I were to ask you this question, yes?
But one point, let me finish that.
Okay, go on.
Do you agree the fact that the religious gurus of all the world, the fact that they all cannot agree who is one God is fundamentally something wrong there?
No, look, there are, for example,
you need to accept this.
No, I don't need to, because what you're talking about, you're now generalizing. Okay, not every religion believes in multiple gods, or not every religion believes in one God.
I'm not saying that.
What are you saying?
I am saying, let's take multiple religions in the world.
Yeah.
Right? There is more than 3, right? Probably 5. All these leaders cannot agree one God. That much you agree?
Major, major religions. If they believed in the same God, it will be the same
major,
religion.
Minor, whatever. They cannot agree.
No, you said
on the
5.
same
That's
God.
why I said major.
Right? They cannot agree on the same God.
Yeah.
Correct?
That's why they are different religions.
So
what's the problem?
There is the conundrum, because if
what is the problem with that?
The problem is the fact that either there is no God or there is no one God.
No. I think you're jumping the gun here. You know, the scientists have several models for the Big Bang. Do you know? For the origin of the universe. They don't all agree. But then there are majority of people amongst the scientists who agree with the Big Bang model.
Agree.
It happens in science as well. There's disagreement. It's not just religion. So let's be fair.
No, you're right.
Every system out there, there's going to be agreement and disagreement within that. So, for example, within Christianity or within Islam or within Judaism, you will find.
But you need to understand that
wait.
In science, there is theory and there is fact.
Let me finish the point. So in these three religions, which are the major Abrahamic faith, yes, there will be internal, disagreements. So amongst the Muslims, or amongst the Christians, or among the Jews, there will be different sects within that. Okay, the subsects, just like in Hinduism as well. Okay, so even those people who say they follow Vishnu, yes, there will be disagreements within the same tradition of Hinduism as well. And the same thing goes with science. I'll tell you why. Because with the same observation, different scientists will conclude different things. Okay? That is when it becomes, for them, it is a hypothesis. So before it becomes a theory, it has to be an observation from their perspective, from their subjective understanding. Then they say, okay, now let's do a peer review. And then if they agree, it becomes a theory.
Absolutely, but in science there is theory and there is a fact. Right? You're right.
Same thing in religion.
Yeah. Which one? But not all religions have a fact. Where is all
okay, what is your definition of fact?
Which one?
What's your definition of fact?
Which is absolutely agreed across the board by
okay, I'll give you one fact.
Yeah.
Every human being sins, which means they disobey. I'm telling you, it's something whether you agree or disagree. Sins in the sense that they disobey either whatever they believe or perceive to be their God, they disobey them. Now this is a fact. No one can say they are sinless.
Which one?
Even you cannot, even as an atheist, you cannot say you do not commit anything which is wrong.